Alright, continuing with the APID class of Railroad Dispatching, Chapter 2, Documents and Staff. Chapter 2, Documents and Staff. 2-1. Operating the trains over a division involves the considerized paperwork of the dispatcher and his staff, the train sheet, the written record of the progress of each train of the one end of the division to the other, the maintained by the dispatcher, other forms dealing with the clearance of message affecting the operations, usually dictated by the dispatcher, frequently complied with the telegraph operator to present a clear and pictorial of the timetable which governs to a great extent of the dispatcher's method operation. The train sheet, which presents an animated, ever-changing picture of the train progress, is discussed with the specific duties and key individual dispatching office. Additional written accounts of the train dispatching frequently deal solely with the loaded cars and trains from the railroad derives from its revenue. Other overlooked, however, they is empty. The railroad must move over its lines, furnish its shippers, and many of the think its particular phase of the railroad relating principle of the freight of the traffic departing and being handled through the car distributed in the operating departure. The direct connection between the car distributor and the dispatcher is moving with the train and the empty cars. Therefore, the car distributor functions how it maintains the record of the emptiness of the railroad. However, the effects of dispatcher is covered in the same details. 2.2. The employee's timetable. The employee timetable is authority of moving all the regular trains, and the pages dealing with the schedule appearing similar in those timetables furnished by the traveling public. And however, the two timetables should not be confused because the employee's timetable goes much further in the sense of becoming a supplementary book of rules, and it may abandon the supplement extend or interpret many extending operating rules because of the peculiar operating instruction, because of the unusual physical characteristics of the rail layout. For example, the special rules and employees timetable for the large commercial rail line following the appearance of Rule 183, the amending to include with the radio communication as being used as a connection with the train, the yard movement of the lieu of the hand signals proper, the identification continuous contact which must be maintained. Should contact be lost by the employee directing the movement and to immediately stop must be made until the communication is restored or other signals are used to complete the movement. In addition, with the scheduled trains, typical employee the timetables include various information listed below. The various types of data instructions may be found in the employee's timetables: reduced speed areas, yard limits, weight limitation tracks on the tracks, bridges, trestles, coal tipples, engine restrictions, closed clearance points, location of fuel watering facilities, standard clock, telegraphic offices, first aid suppliers and stretcher company, doctor, surgeon, oculist, special single indications of the name, the location, significant passing, sliding of their capacity in the car's location, special instruction regarding spring switches, time relay switches to rail, new non-standard switching signal mechanism, special instructions on, for the example, of the car lubricating of the journal boxes, handling of the cars having overheated journal bearings and hot boxes. 2.3. Issuing and suspending or superseding the timetables. Issuing or superseding the timetables. All employees with the duties are connected with the train operating to carry the copy of the current employee's timetable. They must carefully familiarize themselves with the portion affecting the duties of such persons are required to sign a receipt showing they have received a copy each time the new timetable is issued. The employees must note that the time is dated is because becomes effective in the study of the careful change of the train schedule. Special rules seldom change. The old time must be destroyed, turned in because of the chains of the train schedules leaving out of the date of the timetable laying around this inevitable and trouble. 2.4. The typical timetable. Appendix 2 consists of the same timetable based on the double track division illustrated in the figure 1.4. Timetable contains some of the information specified in 2.2. The purpose of the general familiarization actual practice is required the considerable more information detailed cover over all our procedures detailed in the division of 137 kilometers long. Most of the special instructions could also apply to the single track division figure 1.1. However, the timetable of the 2 pages showing the schedule of the 12 trains would be changed completely because of the two-way operation over the single track. 2.5. The train sheet. The dispatch record of the train movements, usually called the train sheet, is maintained by the train dispatcher and is an important written record of the dispatching, and is also shows all times the picture of the train movements over the division of the train is in transit. Each one of the passes, each station along the line, knowing the running time between the two stations, dispatch can determine at a glance whether the train is going to be difficult in its progress. At the same time, knows whether it is exceeding this estimated speed limit when the rear end of the train passes the telegraphic station. The operator reports exactly exact time the dispatch will enter the train seat and column opposite the station's call letter. When the operator remains in the time, says to the OS of the train, using the train system, dispatching is as discussed in further following subparagraphs. A. The typical train sheet. Annex B shows the train sheet as it would appear to the single track division figure 1-1. Column the left situation letters indicating the westbound trains to those of the right for the eastward of the OS time to the westbound. The passing of each station reads the top of the bottom of while the eastbound side of the road reads bottom to top. The method of the recommended recording the time opposite order makes either dispatch make the plans for changing the meeting of the plan. The 3 extra trains shown in the column 1, 2, and 8 have been completed their runs, while extra 194 column 4, extra 210 east column 3 is approximately halfway over the division. The figures besides the extra 205 at the time of the max yard shows that they have 125 loaded cars, no empties, gross tons and gross tonnage of 11,500 tons. These figures are reduced in the BO because of the time of the train specified instead of the car's tonnage, amounting the difference between the two sets of figures whose time figures shown at the station earlier in the time of the arriving of the later was departing from the passing one is written diagonally across both blocks. When a train terminates, the run diagonal line is drawn through the next block. Officially, the stops are considered delays. They must be explained. The train sheet usually reverses out of the quick reference. Delays are shown on the face of the sample of the train sheet. The freight trains generally have 30 minutes of primary time. Delays shown in the making of the air test do not start until 30 minutes after the time is shown in the time reporting column. The meets our examination of the column 3 and 4. The train sheet shows from their extras of 210 east and the 194 west will have the siding of the clear to each other. Clear the other. They already have been arranged by the dispatcher extra 194 west of the left yard explained with this paragraph 17b the reasons for the express later chapters assume that the dispatcher set up the meeting of the Wildwood instruction crew of the extra 210 east of the west and extra 194 west there because the east direction superior to the railroad extra 210 will hold the main track and the extra 194 west will take siding. Suppose however the extra 210 east has 70 cars instead of 90 cars. The extra 194 hat west end the 90 cars instead of the 70 because of the capacity of the West Wildwood cuts off the only 85 cars. The dispatcher would be forced to permit the moving inferior westward direction to hold the main track and make the train superior eastward direction time taking siding. Well, this would have to be specified in a meeting in the meet order. The example that illustrates how the dispatcher may supersede the superior order of the direction in later chapters showing how they may supersede a normal procedure to regulate the superiority. See the double track. The double track train sheet Annex C shows the train sheet as it might be maintained in the double track division illustrated in the figure 1-4. Method complying with the sheet is identical to with the single track sheet. Outward the sheet is similar, however the difference is noticed with only one close examination. When 2 trains are opposing direction of pass are given a notable delay and shown for either the train. The double track movements is separated cannot interfere with the other. In contrast, note that the time enters the arcade tower in the columns 1 and 2 in the Annex B when the trains are met on the single track. With the weather entries in addition with the train entries, the weather columns are important. Every 6 hours the dispatcher receives a various station on the line of report of the weather in the reporting office. The weather of the column to the lower right of the train show that more routine knowledge of the weather along with the line will enter the dispatcher planning. A sudden drop in temperature of 75 kilometers away might require the tonnage may be reduced for the future trains. However, heavy snow, wind, and sleet and torrential rains they might cause floods. The threats must be reported. Threats must be reported and recorded so that the dispatcher may use the information planning knowing exactly whether the weather is various and point of the enables the dispatcher to reduce the orders necessary, providing the engine with assistance at points where the train is stalling and the wet and covered the rails. Unusual occurrence with the dispatcher which might be usual for train to the should entered in the reverse side of the train sheet. 2.6 Handling extra trains. Chapter 1 shows how the dispatcher may create an extra train permit only in the mainline run of the respective timetable because of the time train sheets that quickly visualized. Dispatcher fixed meeting of the points of the extra train method of handling extra recount of the system. Some of the detail and point of the text of the extra single track of the one direction only regardless of the train is always on time. Time orders would seldom required. However, the extra must be operated in both directions. The dispatcher ordered that only means of notifying the crews of the presence of opposing extra. The additional with the scheduled train runs beyond the schedule, as it frequently happens that operations divisions are disrupted. The orders used in less than daily of the trains to assist the late trains to getting back on the schedule. The following subparagraphs describe some of the tasks involved with the operating extra trains. Creating an extra train, for the dispatcher authorizes the extra go to the main track, proceed over the road to a specified point as he has created the train, and once the extra is created, it is proceeded toward the destination with only the timetable train orders to restrict it. Reading the Rule 201-1, given the Appendix 3, fixing the meeting, the dispatcher creates an extra timetable with another moving in the single track toward the nearly created train must immediately meet upon the extras inform each of the train crew whether it is established meeting order given to the train that they will collide. Looking at the figure 1-1, the dispatcher has westbound extra the DN tower, the 700 11 past the hour, and an extra ready to leave the AY tower going in the opposite direction for the probably established the meet of the Wildwood. Each train will be given the order to meet the Wildwood. The objective is not an attempt to determine advance of the actual meeting, but to set over on one evening selected at the random. Changing meeting points. Assume the westbound train had mentioned after the 100 loaded the car work stop, the MD and the RK, while the eastbound AY had the 65 empty hoppers. Obviously, the lighter train would arrive with the Wildwood before the heavier one. It initially does not concern the dispatcher importance. The thing is to establish a meet somewhere to the railroad, one extra star or two opposite the other. Meeting point can always eat the change ladder. The dispatcher watches the progress of the train sheets for an hour or so to permit two extras to oppose each of the without having established meeting to plan. The giving with one when they come in with 20 kilometers of each other is not only highly dangerous but also universally prohibited. The dispatcher might drop dead, and the revealing of the dispatcher may not receive the train without meeting until they have complied. More likely, however, the dispatcher would be getting busy with other work and simply forget the lack of the meet until it was too late. D. Superseding meeting orders. Actually, to try to fix the final meeting exactly the first order, almost pointless. Normal running time and generally only basis that could be used depends on the type of the locomotive tonnage of the train. However, one train might make the excellent time, while the other might encounter delay caused by one or more such thing as an engine failure. Stalling and setting out hot boxes, doubling a hill or over a grade crossing accident. Therefore, the dispatcher picks up the meeting in the wheel and then watches the progress of the train until they are an hour or so apart. The necessary change of the meeting and the point of the issuance during the train order to supersede the first. The E, the extra line, leave terminal on the double track of the dispatcher telegraph signs or a destination yard to account the yard master details the train. This includes the number of the conductor's name, number of cars, the tonnage, estimated time of arrival, or figure often directed the train according to the time grouping destination of the cars may be included. Although these details properly are known as lineups, it makes it possible for receiving yard masters to make plans for handling the train. Dispatchers are generally remarkable available to figuring accurately in advance of the time arrival of the train arrival into a yard of 7 to 100 kilometers distance. Often their actual air arrival time does not vary for the 10 minutes figure. Calculating figures, dispatcher including the capability, locomotive and engineer's ability, the train tonnage, the stop at the picking up, the setting off of the cars, the possible stop at the fuel, water, train density, the division on the weather, and one single track of all is necessary deals with meeting points may be included in the figure. Occasionally in the course of operational difficulties may delay with discuss later in the paragraph 3-4 whether the train falls back 30 minutes before 30 minutes or more. The dispatcher generally calls the yard to give the yardmaster received revised figure. On the whole, dispatcher estimates the remarkable accurate. However, the particular phase of the work which many of the yardmasters think of the routine is reality of one or more of the exacting aspects of the train dispatching. 2.7. The chief dispatcher. The dispatching office is generally located in the division terminal. The chief dispatcher is always in charge. He directs the train movements over the division, supervises the men under them, and reroutes the traffic in the emergency. Determines the train tonnage, orders the movement motive power, determines the rail line capacity, establishes the train movement priority. He reports the received instruction from the responsible superintendent, but all the orders message taking the train over the hill in the two sections, and the instruction signed with the chief dispatching initials handles any of the material after affecting main track operations. He speaks over from the superintendent. 2A, the assistant chief dispatcher. The assistant chief dispatcher assigned to the division determined most assistant chief must be qualified to assume the charge in the absence of the chief dispatcher, as well as take over the desk of the trained dispatcher work on the particular office emergencies, as if required of the relieved dispatcher would in particular sometimes be called the trick dispatcher. The large portion of the work may be devoted to processing telegraphic accident reports to report the train delay report needed to the Office of Transportation Superintendent that he does not relate to the work dispatch of the chief dispatcher. On some railroads, chief dispatchers work days only, with the assistant chief dispatcher are assigned to 2 night shifts. The train dispatcher is responsible for the line movement of the passenger freight train of the division. His object active is scheduled from one end of the division to the other according to the published timetables, getting extra over the road of the brief possible time, consistently safely due the dispatcher wages a mental battle with the basic problem main track railroad prevention of second class extra trains delaying the first class one, and the preventing the extra class from the delaying first and second class one. Of the paragraph 1 gives the further detail of the dispatcher job, modern economical railroading. Other prescribes as much as the tonnage for the extra trains with locomotive capable of handling in another facet of the dispatcher's basic problem to keep the extra trains on the move much as possible to prevent their stalling and requiring pushing assistance to the other engines along the line. The stalling with the resultant delays would not itself be serious because of them being extras. They are not hauling expedited freight, however they must be keeping moving to prevent delay for the superior trains and that may be following them. 210. The telegrapher operator. The telegraphic operator is generally assigned to the dispatching office, frequently qualified as the train of the dispatcher. Whenever the dispatching is not located directly adjacent to the track, operated would leave with the reporting of the train's OSing or the often would work and purely telegraphic involving with the wiring training consistent with the message dealing with high priority training, freight, or administrative communication superintendent office to allow all points of the railroad. Frequently, operators relay messages to connect the railroads, delivering rush cars to the final destinations. When he receives the consists of the trains moving toward his terminal, he relays them on the telephone to the yardmaster, while the teletype that has received the yardmaster operator simultaneously messages all the departments of the railroad that he was connecting. The railroads are received by the operator, who they the transcript delivered to the proper office of the department, and also receives the telegraphic accident report and transcribes them the use of the pertinent officers. 211. Car distributor. The car distributor is usually located at the distribution office. The important function of the scene, the effort, enough empty hands on all point of the railroad, whether the need of loading of the general is not involved in loaded cars. The following subparagraph discusses the function in detail. Duties of the car distributor for chief function is moving empty cars into the actual as the link of the yardmaster dispatcher between the freight of the department of the commercial shippers, the report of the telephone wire to him regular intervals. He is also known as the empty cars of all types located. He knows who and from the reports of the freight department how the empties of the required of the loading, and the advise the dispatcher who has turned arrangements to have the trains emptied, whether they are accumulated, whether they need frequently stored emptied in the yard handicap to the yardmaster. He also almost aware of the press clear tracks the yardmaster confirms mostly continually with the car distributor attempts to get the empty is moved, especially with the occupying the entire track. The type of the needed immediately long loading, generally no difficulty encountered giving them moved, that they are typically generally demanded the dispatcher reluctantly to move 1 yard for the other, while easing the crowd in 1 yard by creating the storage problem of another. Unwanted empties may be moved along the division in stages below, relieving the congestion toward the point of which they are ultimately loaded. For example, empty coal cars accumulating in Conroy or Maxie could be moved directly to Elwood Mines about the midway between the 2 points as figured in 140 that show or to be accepted that the average storage capacity would not know that they eventually be loaded. The car distributor, however, the remaining would not be cost advisably empty the particular point of the remaining underloaded for several days, only them needed in point pass that they have just followed, whether the few exemptions of the backhaul loaded the car regardless of efficient backhaul empties, except for the rare instances not tolerated. The backhaul means to move the car and ship back toward its original origin after it has reached a more distant point. Special cars. Not only does the car distributor the responsibility of providing the great many common types of the empty cars for large scales, but furnishing small numbers of those special types design, including automobile boxcars, depressed center flat cars, extra flat car box cars, flagellar cars, freight agents, along with the line of the request of the empty the individual shippers request of the consolidated forward of the car distributor through the freight of the traffic of the department. The location special purposes usually furnished with the car distributor office, superintendent of the car services office is also known as the location of every car is the railroad. However, the information location of large quantities commonly loaded equipment comes to the car distributor from the situation report of the telephone wired to him all yards on the division. Situation reports at regular intervals, usually 4 to 6 hours. Situation reports are compiled with to show the status of the empties of a particular yard. The railroad is telephoned and wired with the car distributor. The consolidated all reports and enter the information of the master sheet. The yard's reports are usually divided into two parts: empties that are switched and ready to be moved, and those that are handed on their hand, which are not to be switched. Which some cars are reported to the reports according to capacities, other according to length. Boxcars also reported according to their class 1, 2, 3, or 4, or Class 1 boxcar comparatively clean inside, suitable loading grain or high-class merchandise. The other Class 2 through 4 for perfect condition, fairly clean interiors with rough, greasy floors, leaky roofs. The latter are often used such rough lighting and the seal casting of the car wheels. Any of the other commodity that they were unharmed, dirt, grease, or moisture. The floor nails may also be loaded in Class 4 boxcars. The following subparagraph discusses the two reports of the car distributed in performing the duties in the yard situation report of the consolidated empty report. 1. The yard situation report. Figure 2.1 shows the yard situation report of the maxi yard at 2,400 hours. It includes in particular all types of the empties and then through the in-hand practicable boxcar who operates the empty tank and the empty refrigerators. Cannot do the report of the empty tank cars. The travel revenue ways the specified designation empty refers to most always belong to the private companies and handled the strict ordinances, owners, and standing instruction. Here is an empty car situation report with the switch and non-switch remarks. Consolidated empty car report number. The empty cars shown on the various yard of the cars reports are total to the car distributor to enter in the consolidated empty report. The forms of the report are considerably railroaded between the civilian and military railroads, basically serve the purpose whenever however the empty use of the out of the yard of the car distributor deducts from this master report. The next report of the forwarding of the empties omits the move that includes the accumulated. Since the previous report frequently a report of the yard does not change greatly in the previous one, the principal change being the switch and non-switch figures over a period of 8 to 12 hours. However, the considerable change may be reflected in reports of Annex D, the consolidated empty car report representative that might be maintained in the Elwood division shown in Figure 1.1. 2.12. The car distribution and theater operation. In time of war, particularly in theater operation, the distribution differs radically from the described in the foregoing paragraphs. No surplus of empties will exist. The opposite will prevail. In theater, during adherence to the boxcar classification was securely practical. Any piece of equipment that will haul any type of the freight will be used. Hopper and gondola cars are constructed with a haul bulk. Commodities aggregates may have been pressed and traversed the hull created goods. They might be one of the only ones on hand. Cars with leaky roofs might have to be used in the high grade commodities, even though the requires covering the lading of the tarpaulins or other protective covers. Few rules have been given for the efficient equipment because of the known highly varying conditions. In theater, the two basic rules must be strictly followed. Unloaded the cars with the dispatch when received the few points. Keep all empty movings from the front to rear to reloading. 2.13. The summary. Moving trains over the railroad division, considerable paperwork. The dispatcher includes in one of the important documentation known as the train sheet. It provides a clear picture of the movement of the trains in the division. The dispatcher determines locating the train sheet as many of the operating weather, the exceeding the speed limits, losing the time. You can also find out about the weather at various points along with the line. It very well enter the dispatcher's plan. For example, several drop temperature may cause the dispatcher to reduce the tonnage or the future trains issued by the order that they reduce them, provided the engine pusher assistance at points where the trains may stall. Another documentation employed the timetable authorized the movement of all regular trains Determine the method of dispatch should be used in moving the trains along with the time and the schedule of regular trains containing the special instructions of the list of company doctors, Oculus, and speed regulation restrictions, special location with the division, number of handbrakes to be used in the cars on certain tracks, the capacity, sighting, the engine, and restriction, and close clearance points. Because of the large amount of the work of the chief dispatcher has to do, the assistant chief dispatcher assist him to carry out the duties. The assistant chief must be able to assume the duties of the chief dispatcher, although the duties of the train dispatcher in the office of the others, chief dispatcher, staff of the telegraph operator, and train dispatcher. The car distributor is usually located in the dispatching office. He is usually enough empty cars on the hand whenever needed loading on the rail line. He works closely with the dispatcher and yard master. The car distributor must be careful with the avoiding the dispatcher and moving empty cars that must be moved at the point of that will sit empty while they need her in another station. The two documents of the car's distributor when those yards job or in the yard situation reports consolidated empty car report from them. The car distributor can tell the number of the types of all cars he has on hand. Two of the important things to remember: the car distribution and theater operation are as should and unloaded as possible for arriving in the areas. The empty cars should be kept moving toward the rear for reloading. Chapter 3: Communications.